It's time to create a foundation for digital transformation and the future of work. In this panel discussion, industry experts will join virtually to share their thoughts on the digital foundation for a future ready workplace. I would like to invite Jayant Paleti, co founder Darwinbox, to moderate this discussion. It's my pleasure to invite the guest speakers for this panel discussion. Atul Joshi, VP HR and Admin, Mahindra and Mahindra Finance Services; Virendra Prasad, Senior Advisor HR, Maruti Suzuki India; Muthu Thanu, Group CHRO, TAFE.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jayant Paliti, and I'm one of the founders at Darwinbox, an integrated HR technology platform on the cloud that targets enterprises. I wanted to thank all the participants today who registered and are tuning into the session for making the time. I hope all of you and your families are keeping safe and well. We'll be discussing a topic today which is extremely pertinent for organizations in the current times as we move towards planning for a new year. That is laying the digital foundation for a future ready. Muthu, Atul, and Virendra for carving out time from your schedules to be with us this afternoon. Looking forward to learning from all of you over the course of the session today. I would request everyone tuning into the session to post their questions in the Q&A chat room in the bottom. The panelists will respond when they can as the session progresses. Now, moving specifically to the topic. I think we've been part of enough panels and discussions about COVID already. I don't think we need to discuss any more about that. But if there's one broad thing that I wanted to call out, which became abundantly clear last year, was the human capacity to evolve and the organization's ability to reorient when faced with adversity against overwhelming odds got proven again. Right? I mean, so many instances last year. I'm sure within your own organizations, within the ecosystem, across corporate India, globally, we've seen organizations, the most traditional ones and the most traditional functions changing, reorienting in a matter of weeks, if not days, to adapt to this new context. In our own example, in a small way, right? I keep joking that at Darwinbox, we used to have 8 offices globally in March. And in April, we suddenly had 450 offices, right? 450 employees and 450 offices. And all organizations had to go through such changes. And it became very clear that we need to make organizations agile enough to not only respond to change fast, but always be prepared to ask what's next. So this brings me to my first question, which is addressed to all the panelists. What do you think makes an organization adaptable and future ready? Are there repeatable elements in the DNA which can be seen in such organizations? Maybe Muthu, you can go first.
Great. I think when the topic came, actually, we can't be so centrally focused. When I say centrally focused, I can't be so functionally focused when I talk of digitalization. Digitalization is something which is built outside in, right? The market demands, the environment changes, the world changes, the technology changes. So you have no choice but to adapt and change yourself. Now, 2 things that you asked me about what happened during the challenging situation of COVID, right? Changes happen because of 2 things. One is forced on you, about which you have no choice, like the pandemic situation that you have undergone. I guess the worst phase is over, still we are going through that. That's one. Second, what gets driven by a choice, right? Now, what gets driven by a choice is, I think, just since there are a number of participants, when you talk of digitalization is not all about automation, right? The general misconception is the minute that you automate that you are getting digitalized. Not really true. Just to make myself clear in terms of an operational example, digitalization is all about adding value to the beneficiary or the customer or the process beneficiary at every stage of implementation, right? Just to give an example, just to make myself further clear, you get into Amazon, the minute that you would like to buy something, it not only tells you that you would like to buy this, you do have choices. So at the time of first stage of interaction, there are choices available to you. So digitalization is all about application of intelligence in a value chain, right? During the process, it further value adds. At the time of closing, it gives you more and more value. So digitalization is all about adding value to the beneficiary at each part of the value chain. I think I will close with that. So there are tons of change, there are lots of changes taking place in HR, because at the end of the day, it's a business value chain that drives that where you need to be, not what you want to be, where you need to be. I think digitalization is one such thing. So it will impact an organization technologically. It will impact the organization in terms of culture, the way that you work. Therefore, it will impact the organization in the mind of each person that works for the organization, be that be the leadership, be that be the manager, be that be an executive. It will impact the minds. It will actually change the topography of the organization, what it was. Right?
Yes.
I will leave it there and you know, wait
Muthu,
Virendra and Atul talk more on it.
Very, very well said. Muthu, I'd like to add here, there are two things. Business to business and business to customer, things have improved a lot. The moment you go to Google and search something, a lot of bombardment will come, all ads will start coming to your platform. And you will come to know that these are the products available because they push their product. Now the challenge is the HR part. We are still in the nascent stage. We have not done that. We have just started, and technology is changing very fast. You know, earlier days, it took 30 years to change something. Now, 3 years, even 1 year, things are changing. So in Maruti particularly, we have started, earlier our recruitment costs were very high, phenomenal. Now it has come down to 5% of what you used to have. We started using artificial intelligence and one software, and they give the entire thing, automatically it comes, and then we select, and interviewing and other things you can do. So things are changing very fast, and similar happened with the pandemic. Work from home. Earlier we were thinking, now work from anywhere has come. How it has come? Because pandemic has changed many things in working. Same is happening with the big data. If you ask me, big data is again, you get a lot of data, volumes are very high, velocity is very high, to find out correct thing, so that you can come to the customer and tell him, look, this is the best thing for you. These are the things coming on very fast. If you ask me as HR, still we are comparatively slower, though we are picking up. Over a period of time, I feel that HR will have a more technical team than HR team itself, because people will start automating everything what they are getting in the data system. So we will have to have a platform. Now, how to go about it is a bigger challenge for HR, because for MSME and SME is a challenge. Cost is not very high. Somebody says that cost is high, but I don't think cost is high. And if you have decided to go, I think within a year, return on investment are very, very high. I just leave it to Mr. Atul now.
And Atul, specifically, while Virendra and Muthu have spent a lot of time on the digital aspects of, maybe that digitalization is one very important key element for making an org adaptable and future ready. But broadly, any other drivers you think that orgs should keep in mind? Of course, would love to hear your thoughts on the digital piece as well, but broadly, overall.
Yeah, sure. See, lot of things are changing and change is happening too fast around. Now, technology or digital could be one reason, for digital or a disruption to happen in a business model. Pandemic, something which was not foreseen by anybody, has become another reason, where things have got disrupted very fast.
Right.
Tomorrow, we don't know what will be the new thing which will disrupt your business model. So the question is, how do we get the organization future ready?
Absolutely.
Now, when we mean by future ready, and I think there are multiple aspects that you have to be seen here. Because things are changing fast, customers are becoming more demanding, customers adopt to the change much faster than sometimes the large organizations have to. And hence, organizations have to build ability to see those winds of change early and adapt internally to respond to the change faster. Now, how can that be done? And particularly we as a HR community have a role to play. And you could start with even the structure, because see, the whole fundamental aspect of this is, if you have to respond faster, then the decision making has to happen where the action is. So if you have a very tall hierarchical structure vis-a-vis a flat structure,
right,
it can make a difference.
Absolutely.
How empowered is your workforce to take a decision? That's about the culture element.
Absolutely.
third that you can bring in is, it's, see, no decision can be 100% right all the time. So have you built a culture of experimentation? Are you allowing your employees to, take risk and, make some experiment and fail if required?
Absolutely.
And the fourth one that I will mention is, how are you building the capability in the organization to build those what is called as a new age skills very proactively? It could be digital skills, it could be the soft skills of empathy, but how are you building those skills very proactively within the system so that disruption can happen because of technology, because of government regulations, because of pandemic, right? But the organization is still kind of a foolproof to face those disruptions. And obviously technology is, something that, can play a very, important enabler in the process.
Absolutely. And such great thoughts, Atul. And like you said, having the org change ready in a lot of ways, right? How do you make the org change proof in some sense? And very, very Darwinian sort of an idea, right? Which is in fact the name of our company. And if you come to the office of Darwinbox, right, the corporate office, you'll see when you enter the building in big, bold blue letters, this line from Charles Darwin, right? It is not the strongest of the species, nor the most intelligent of the species that survives, but the one that is the most adaptable to change. Yeah. So note of caution for us always when we come to office, right? We look at that and enter. And like so rightly called out by all three of you, one very, very important enabler last year for companies to sort of transition, right, was technology and digital. And one thing that has definitely happened is the importance of digital now is extremely well understood. 3-4 years worth of shift in thinking in terms of orientation has definitely happened. And like so rightly Muthu called out, right? Maybe parts of 2020 were all about using digital or people tech to react to the crisis. That companies had no choice but to move to digital. But 2021, it is becoming very, very clear in all my conversations. It's all about how you use digital or people technology. Use that, and how do you make that a cornerstone of your company's larger business strategy? That's, I think, what we are seeing going forward. And importantly, now specifically coming to digital HR, right? And we recently published a report on the stage of HR technology in the post-COVID workplace, right? Where we surveyed 150 plus large Asian enterprises. And what we uncovered was that 82% of organizations have undergone or are planning to go through a HR transformation exercise by the end of 2021. Right? That is probably the highest number that we've seen ever in history. Now, after having seen many accelerated implementations last year, we understand the best ones are those that have a clear roadmap, not just for the immediate needs, but for what should come after. On that note, on what basis should leaders, specifically HR leaders, prioritize focus areas for HR digitalization? And what should be the short-term and long-term goals to go behind? Maybe again, this time, Atul, I'll start with you.
Okay. So as you rightly said, the linkage has to be with the business strategy. Right. It has to start from what do you want to achieve? Do you want to achieve productivity? Do you want to increase efficiency? Or, you're talking about employee experience.
Absolutely.
Because that will decide what kind of, platforms you want to take, what kind of initiatives that, you want to take. See, from a short-term, long-term point of view, obviously, now investment in having a good human capital management system is like a hygiene. From Absolutely. There you can kind of move towards the people analytics, which is the higher end.
Right.
So depending on what is it that you want to achieve, what is your overall digital HR kind of a roadmap from a long-term point of view, it is also very important to take into consideration what kind of a business you are.
Absolutely.
What is profile of your people? See, one should not go for HR digitization because it's a kind of a in thing, everybody is doing that, so let me do that also, right? What is important is, for example, in Mahindra Finance, right, which is the NBFC, more focus in the rural area. with workforce of 22,000 spread across the country, right? What kind of a profile of people you have? Where do they work? Right? What is their need? Because many times doing something which is premature also doesn't help. So you have to keep it in mind. What is the technology maturity curve of your organization? Where do you stand on that?
So rightly said.
You then take a call of how you go step by step in investing in the HR digitization as a roadmap. It's not something that happens overnight or in 1 month or even 1 year. So you should have a clarity of how you will move from taking care of the hygiene things, which could be as simple as your attendance system, and then over a period move to doing people analytics.
Got that. And quick follow-up on that, Atul. Again, you had the unique vantage point of seeing auto very closely, and now this sector very, very closely. Any differences in approach you think from a HR digitalization perspective? A quick point there.
As I mentioned, the workforce, the profile of the workforce, the geographical spread of the workforce.
Right.
If I look at my stint in Mahindra Auto, right, you don't have such a widely spread workforce. You have plants where you have a kind of an accumulation of workforce under one roof.
Right.
What I see over here, you have the branches in Leh, Ladakh to remote corners of Arunachal Pradesh.
Right.
So how are you going? So even things like, do they have a connectivity? Right? Is your mobile network going to work over there? Now those kind of things were not possibly felt in the the M&M Auto stint that I had.
So engagement, communication to such a distributed workforce, how do you ensure that happens?
Yes. See, we have a large workforce which is coming from a very rural and a local background.
Right.
So whether whatever platform, whatever software you have, is it compatible or does it meet the requirements of a local language?
Absolutely. So important.
Small things, but they matter in terms of actually making your digital platform very effective.
Absolutely. And this is a system that touches, unlike other enterprise platforms, right? That touches everybody in a company.
Yes.
And second, what is the point of having a system that is not used?
Yes.
So rightly said. And Muthu, coming to you, right? Again, how do your thoughts on how prioritization can happen from a HR digitalization perspective, right? And long-term and short-term goals therein. And specifically, again, sometimes it also becomes very, very important for leadership to demonstrate ROI or make a case when such investments are planned. So again, how do you go about making that case? Your thoughts on both these items?
Okay, Jayant, let me address the first point. I think we are talking in a context. You were talking, Atul, you were asking Atul about the auto industry, what change might happen. 2,000 components becoming 40 components, right? Probably about 10 to 15 years from now, when the electrical vehicles are in full swing the way that it's envisaged to be, right? Your entire dealer service station might close down, right? Now, the way that digitization is taking place in the product purchase, maybe that 3/4 of the dealer network, what we have, even that might close down. Atul runs an organization which has got 22,000 people, right? Your digitalization might bring an end to that kind of a workforce which is existing today, right? These changes will happen faster than what you think. So if you talk about longer term, we should talk about building capability, do predictive analytics to reach at what is required from 5 years from now, what is required from 3 years now. Times have gone when we felt that it's a capability building training that we need to give. That's fine. How much digitalization is going to be supporting the journey? I think number of tools are available like Anaplan, and you are studying workflows planning model, etc., etc. It's high. It's time that organization. When you talk about digitalization, it is just not at the customer delivery end. It's at your own functional value chain delivery end. Unfortunately, right? Of all the choices what you have in HR, maybe even picking up a model from Darwinbox, right? If you put in terms of priority, first they will look at finance module, second they will look at materials module, or it can swap each other. Finally comes this HR one. I mean, that's reality. But then,
Mr. Muthu, specifically in HR, how do you think we should prioritize? Again, HR is a vast sort of subject. I mean, there could be 10, 11 things across the life cycle that you could digitalize. What would you prioritize, right? Again,
in terms of priority, if you ask me, high time we started using those capability building tools and do prediction absolutely correctly. To me, the future is all going to be about capability. When you talk about the gig workforce being available across, right? You need to be very, very clear about what is required 3 to 5 years from now, 10 years from now. How the entire structure might undergo a change, right? What was about 10 years back, what was about 5 years back, that's undergoing a change. We are talking about, as a character, we are talking about agility in an organization, isn't it? As a character, we are talking about very porous levels, right? I'm not saying that you should become flat. There are social contexts that's applicable. However, we need to adapt ourselves to the changes what is required. Second, you are talking about ROI. I think the effectiveness of the initiatives that we have, it needs to be measured some way, right? Be that be people productivity, be that be the efficiency at which a structure delivers for you, be that be a process that's able to provide the support to the business. We should be able to bring those measuring mechanisms. Just to give an example to the audience over there, right? We talk so much about talent acquisition. It's matter of time. They will look at whether the person can be replaced by a bot. Now, bot replacement is a reality. Get into, try purchasing a flat, try purchasing a, to show your intent to buy a car. The person who comes there is not the person, it's a bot trying to communicate to you that works 24/7, right? Most of us would be surprised. The name is all, fictitious name. It's a bot which is interacting with you. Time is, it is already there. I think we are probably the first one to recruit a chief digital officer in the tractor industry. He has been working with us for a couple of years now. So he tells me whenever there's a position, find out the position cannot be displaced, that your bot can't come and provide a support. Now, these are something that will happen. It'll happen faster than what we think that what we think will happen. Again, I'll give an example. We've got 15 crore farmers in the country. I think probably Atul would know. You'd be surprised. 40% of the farmers have smartphones.
Yep,
right?
Absolutely.
During COVID, in the month of April, we offered free tractors for farmers to work on a hourly basis in 3 states. Okay. Now that was completely through a digital platform. 80,000 farmers got free tractors from us for 2 months in 3 states, which means the farmers had no choice but to connect themselves digitally to us, gets processed, where the tractor is required, which dealer would provide that, which individual would provide that, etc., etc. Now, when digitalization, value addition is taking place at a customer touch point end, and this is what I said, there is absolutely no choice. It can't flow back. It will flow back. In fact, it has to happen the other way, right? The organization digitalizing and customer benefiting. Now it's outside in, the present is outside in. So there is absolutely no choice but to change.
Got that. And
I would like to add, recently what happens, a very classic case in Maruti. And I will tell you a very classic case in Maruti. We need a lot of outsourced people for when we ramp up our production after COVID, that is after May 20. So we need people, and there are embargo, you cannot go anywhere, travel restrictions are there in all the states. And we have to select people from ITI. So we didn't have any choice. What we started mobile interviewing. We told them that you give your number, we'll interview in the mobile for ITI, blue color. I'm not talking of white color. And we select them. Straight away, they can come to our office and can join. And we had a team of 10, 12 people. And let me tell you, we roughly interview 5,000 to 6,000 persons in 1 month, because we need at least churning of 1,000 people every month. And we were ramping up. So we are also not knowing whether they will be able to come or not. So footfall was high, but numbers which we got was around 80% people came and joined. And still we are continuing with that. Otherwise, we used to go to ITI, call all of them in the ITI, do the interview, then select them there, then they come. But now we are not going anywhere. We are from our office, we are doing the entire thing. And with the interview in mobile, we can find out whether he is suitable or not. We are not going anywhere. So This is one example I'm giving. There are many things happening like this. It is not that we have got chatbot when all the policies are there. Any person who wants to know anything about the policy, just he writes it and he gets the result. That is already going on. But what is the future? The challenge is not that. Challenge is future. 5G is coming. IoT is coming. All these things, what they will do? They will again speed up. I always say the velocity, volume, and variety that is going to up tremendously. So whether we are ready for that, because currently volumes are not that high. When you do big data analytics, what do you do? Unstructured data, structured data, both are available.
Absolutely.
So find out the correct data, correct information from there, so that you can pinpoint. Like recently I studied somewhere at HP, they did a predictive analysis for flight risk, the person who are likely to leave the organization. A deep predictive analysis, deep diving was done, the 20, 25 variables they check, and they can pinpoint this person is likely to leave, reasons are this. So can we recorrect? So it is a more of a predictive type. Now predictive analytics are coming in a big way. And I tell you, within 2 to 3 years, everything will be predictive. So basically, human beings, when they started with the prediction, right from the weather. Now slowly, now we come to know that 3 days back, 3 days after, what is going to happen. Now what is happening? Human behavior, that is also likely to be predictive. And it will help HR to know exactly who is going to stay for longer period, who is going to really contribute, even their attitude. Everything you can get it. And a lot of data, it is a data point. For example, even for weather, how we got it? You see, if you see the mathematical modeling of weather, you will be surprised. Supercomputers are being used to just get the pinpointed data, pinpointed information from data. So same thing is likely to happen in HR also. We'll find out who is going to leave, why he is leaving, is there anything new we can do for him beforehand, before he leaves or he starts thinking to leave. So these are the challenges we are going to have. And hopefully HR will cope up with this. That's why I always say that no, HR team will be 60-70% technology person, 20-30% only HR person. You can really think of go and get it done.
Again, to you and Birendra, Mr. Muthu has answered made his comments clear on ROI and how do you make a case for investment in HR tech. Again, quick thoughts from both of you on internally. How do you make a case when you realize this rapid wave of transformation and digitization has to happen? How do you, and while there's appreciation for digital transformation, but I'm sure there are lots of proposals going in, right? Specifically for HR transformation, how do you make a case?
Sure. So let me share some thoughts here. As we talked about, there are too many changes happening and they are happening too fast. So there's a HR chatbot happening. There's a people analytics model, and there's a LXP, LMS. So many things are happening from a digitization perspective, even within the HR domain. The question is, how many things you can start at a time, right? And that is where the dimension of a ROI comes in.
Absolutely.
So my approach would be like, you do few things step by step, but do them well instead of starting multiple things at a time. However, it is also important to keep it in mind, different things. For example, doing things in a very piecemeal way, doesn't help in terms of getting the right ROI for your technology investments. If you're doing any investment, if you're selecting any platform, it might help to consider the entire value chain in a product line or on a business line instead of doing it in pieces.
Brilliant.
For example, say investment in a collaboration platform. If you do only for a particular grade and above,
right,
it will not give you the right returns.
Correct.
Right. Hence, you have to really decide how where the effort and impact balance is going to be there, which will determine, what kind of investments you do. See, for example, whether you do a one-time investment or whether you go for a pay-per-use, model, SAS as a model. So that also, there are options available, in terms of what you want to do and where. Right. So, and if you are clear in terms of what kind of a tangible benefits you are looking forward to, how are you going to measure ROI at the end of the cycle, then it really helps.
Got that. And you make a great point about the fact that digital can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
So huge influx of solutions that you can see coming in. So like you rightly called out, a strong transformation roadmap that will stitch together the various solutions that get taken so that it makes sense for every stakeholder in the company, right? And for example, the employee, the HR team, the admin, the IT, and the company. Yeah. So, and delivers the right outcome. So nicely said. And your thoughts on that, Birendra?
Yeah, actually, if you see, you go to finance, okay, we are going to invest this much, what is the return? They're very simple questions. But I say always that you can get, like we started with Param, one technology we took artificial intelligence for recruitment. And it is 5% of our total cost. Let me tell you, 5% of the cost which we are used to give to the consultant for recruitment, 5%. So they understood that whenever you go for digitization, definitely benefit is there. It's not only that. You see the time-saving measures. Just you can call, you get the numbers, you immediately call the person and get the selected. This one. Time-saving are very, very important. Then process simplification. All data they can collate and give it beforehand. Before joining, you can get the entire data. So we are ready to see further also. Deep dive into that also, so that you get the proper person. And employees also get satisfaction. We have HR Assist, where two things we are doing. One is HR Assist is a mobile app we have, where from across the country, anywhere you can want to leave sanction, you can get it done. If you want something other than that, you want to know what is going to happen next day, that also you can know. So a lot of things are happening. And fortunately, Maruti, money is not that constant, but definitely return on investment is always seen. Whatever you do, at the end of the day, it is the return on investment. And it is a huge, huge benefit. I always believe if you really do it properly, employees are satisfied, process is simplified, and time savings, enough time savings you have. So all these things give you a leverage to go to the digitization, and it has to be done faster than what you think. That is my view on this.
Absolutely. And moving to the next one, I think we already touched upon the workplace of the future, and that it's going to be built on a very, very strong technology foundation. But the other two important caveats which fuel this is also about, okay, while that is the case, you should also have the right talent and have the right structure which actually fosters the usage of this, right? But what I mean is, while digital is an enabler, how should we get the organization and the people ready to make the most of that technology, right? It could be in terms of hiring well or hiring right, and or skilling, or ensuring that the structure is appropriate. And maybe Muthu, if we can start with you on what you think about.
I'll just go to the previous question. Spend about 30 seconds before I come to answer this question. The paradox is, when you are physically being present, and the productivity is not being questioned. When you are virtually working, this question kept coming up, right? How do you measure the productivity of your own executive management staff? I think there are a number of tools available. So we introduced a tool, and the outcome is surprisingly, I think you need to, end of the day, it's like McGregor's theory. You need to start trusting people. Most people are trustworthy, right? Whether they work virtually, whether they work in office, right? So long as they are given the right kind of pinpointed KRAs, so long as you trust them, so long as you engage them, I think delivery remains the same. I mean, 22,000 people, most of them would not be sitting in Atul's organization, right? They deliver. You can't really keep chasing them, that where he went and what he did, etc., etc. Similar thing goes. So I leave the thought there. Second part, that what you spoke on is, let me just get into the structure. The structure of the future is going to be, it's all going to be flexible. When I say flexible, fungible. Fungible is the right expression. Now, the structure will be built based on the business value delivery chain, right? Functional delivery chain. When you do functional delivery chain, business delivery chain, right? There are going to be teams working together. It used to happen in the technology organization. Now this is going to spread across, right? The hierarchy, the positioning, the title is meant for compensation, benefits, and perquisites. Nothing more. Authority is going to become less. Authority is going to be defined by what are you going to be delivering. That's going to be a reality, right? So the entire thing will be built around that. It's all going to be, the structure is going to be the delivery process, the delivery process for the given function, the delivery process for what is required for the customer. So that's going to be pronounced very strongly as we move forward. There's going to be no age, there's going to be no qualification, etc., etc. There's going to be no loyalty. Loyalty will be there to the organization, to the product what you have, not to the kind of role that you're playing in the organization. That's going to be a major change. We talk about design thinking. Design thinking is not just for Infosys or for technology organization, right? You actually, if there is a challenge for the customer, there's an issue for the customer, as a person who's participating, you will ensure that's corrected at the time. It's all prenatal initiative rather than taking care of the baby post delivery, right? That's going to be the reality. So the mindset of the people, the objective setting process, what you do, the way you assess the people in terms of delivery, all that will undergo a change without even we becoming conscious of it, without even we, at this point of time, we may not accept 3 to 5 years from now, there's going to be tremendous amount of change on this front.
I got that. And Mr. Birendra, early in the conversation, you talked about the fact that the HR team, right, will also comprise of technology people. So again, your thoughts on this, right, which is how should organizations and people change, orient to make the most of this digital future?
Yeah, very, very aptly. Why I say always that HR over a period of time, there will be more technology people in that, because you see, most of the enablers and all the data processing has to be done by a technology person. They will be a part of an enabler. What they will do, they will support us wherever there is a chance, because HR people may not be that great in technology portion. So we need, over a period of down the line 10 years, I will be not surprised that IT will take over the HR as a complete function, because it will be with them only. They will do the most of the things except comp and benefit part or employee engagement part. Now, engagement is a big challenge. Now, I tell you, there is a casualty of digitization. If you ask me as an HR professional, I will always say, engagement slowly goes down. Like one person was talking in our team. He was telling, sir, we are doing all WebEx meetings all the day, almost every day 1 or 2 meetings. But the feel which we are getting in the collective meeting is we are not getting. We are very cut to cut. We talk.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that is a big challenge for the people, because you see the vibes when we sit together, the kind of vibes we get, the kind of camaraderie we can make, is not able to make because here what is asked, you answer to that. You do not go beyond that. But in person meeting, where we have most of the people sitting, it's a very different platform. So again, the challenge of engagement will be there. I can bet on that. What is engagement? It is the psychological portion.
Absolutely.
One is the physical portion, the psychological. Are you psychologically with the company or not? But if you go on doing all the time with the technology, you may not be knowing that person is psychologically with you or not. So that will be another challenge which we will face. So we have to keep something for technology. Definitely they are the enablers. We'll have a technology team, but at the end of the day, HR has a role to play, and that role will be more of engagement, more of, you get a success. Why a team does a great thing, even they are not very capable of, like our recent team, because they are so much dedicated to deliver. And that can come only when they talk. When you, in the team meeting, you talk and discuss face-to-face. Because face-to-face is very, very different from talking in the web. There is absolutely difference. And because you get the all vibes, and that is also required. That's why I always say we need a technology team, but at the same time, we need some HR team also.
And Birendra, you make such an important point, right? That, and this is a question that nobody has an answer for. I mean, people can talk about will be remote work forever. People have made claims that will be remote till 25 or for the foreseeable future, right? That's what I've said. But you so rightly called about these micro interactions that we are the custodians of culture in a company. So, and just moving on to you, Atul, your thoughts on on organizations and their readiness, and what should they be prepared so that they can leverage or use the most from technology going forward?
So Jan, you talked about preparing for the future of the workplace, future organization, and I will think of 3 stakeholders, how they can play a role over here. First one is like the HR, right? So in terms of how HR would create the new structures which are flatter, if things are going to change, then it's not only about changing the structure, it's also about changing the policies which are more conducive to work in the new normal. Third one is, as I mentioned earlier, how do you get your workforce to change not just the skill set, but starting with the mindset for adopting new things.
Right.
And when it talks of adoption, I think leaders have to play a much larger role in terms of leading from the front.
Absolutely.
The moment leaders start doing it themselves, the organization follows. I mean, you can create the best of the PMS system, which is digital. But if the top management still insists on doing a pen and paper appraisal, then it doesn't work.
Leading from the front.
From the top. Yeah, they have to lead from the front. Third one is, I will say, going forward for a very productive and a successful future of work, it is very important that IT and HR are collaborating together. See, in the past, there was always a discussion that the CFO and the CHRO have to kind of a combine along with the CEO. I would put the fourth C, which is the CIO. Right? Because CIO, the whole technology head, can play a huge role in terms of what kind of architecture that you have. See, they are the experts of that.
Right.
So what kind of architecture you have, and then there are dimensions about like information security. If HR wants to kind of go for a particular platform, is it compatible with what you call the other architecture which is there? So there are multiple like stakeholders, whether it is HR, whether it is IT, whether it is leadership, they have to play a role in terms of ensuring that if you're investing in technology, how it is going to kind of support you create the future of workplace.
Right. I think great points. And Atul, two other things, right? I think just quickly taking a cue from both of you. One thing that I also notice happening now is this competency called digital adaptness is a competency that potentially for every role needs to be assessed. Right? That's what I hear from a lot of companies right now. If it is not just, if it's digital and physical coming together to deliver outcomes in every function across levels, across hierarchy, like you said, it is now even at leadership, people having to use technology. That means that every role and every level, technology usage is mandatory.
Yeah.
So this ability to adapt or use technology is a skill that needs to be assessed at every level. I think that's one thing. The second point that I wanted to call out was, and something that both of you alluded to earlier in the conversation about, as digital grows, there's just going to be this very, very massive aggregation of data that has never been captured before. We talked about Virendra, IoT, a bunch of these things. So much data is going to get captured. And leaders and organizations should leverage this data. It's like you're sitting on a gold mine. Unless you mine it, you won't use it. So you have to use it, right?
Yeah.
And that means not just with tech, but the other competency that needs to get assessed at every role is probably even data adaptness, right? And one thing that I see going forward is that data science will be the new Excel. That's my big belief, and that's something that I keep seeing in the market as well. With that, we're done with our questions. I think this was just a phenomenal session. Personally, I took away a lot of learnings, Atul, from you, Birendra, Mr. Buttu, such great takeaways. Thank you so much for making the time and for all those insights. And I also wanted to thank the ET team for getting all of us together.
Yes.
For all the participants, enjoy the rest of the day and have a great weekend.
Thank you everyone for deep delving into the topic. I hope this will help our viewers in better planning and strategizing. Stay tuned for the next session.